The Straw Hats from One Piece had Pokemon teams. My favorite story of all time is One Piece, and Pokemon and One Piece are my two favorite franchises. And I wanted to combine them and make a team for every single Straw Hat. I wanted to be teams that match them a lot, but I also want them to be balanced. But I will still mostly focus on what I think match them, but I will try to make it as balanced as possible. I'm gonna give all of them 6 Pokemon, so they have a full team, and we're gonna start off with Luffy. Luffy's first member is gonna be Breloom. Of course, Breloom is a fighting type who also can stretch, which we've seen, and it also has a hat, just like Luffy. His next Pokemon is Primeape. I just feel like a monkey fighting type matches really well with Monkey D. Luffy. Then we have Snorlax. Luffy eats a lot and Snorlax does that as well, and they do also both love to sleep. So Snorlax is perfect for Luffy. Next up we have Darmanitan. Darmanitan is some sort of fighting monkey as well, but it is also fire type, and Luffy has some attacks which has fire on it, and I thought that would work perfectly. It would also be a bit of a reference to Ace and Sabo. I'm pretty sure that the moves that Luffy has are even inspired by Ace. The 5th Pokemon is going to be Aipom. It's a goofy monkey that I feel like matches Luffy perfectly. Ambipom works as well, but I feel like Aipom might work even better. But they both work perfectly, and they really have this goofy cartoon vibe to them, which of course works for Luffy perfectly. His final Pokemon is not going to be Infernape, because it's so basic. Everybody know that Luffy matches with Infernape, and it's actually the only obvious one that I'm gonna remove from this. But yeah, I wanted to give him Ludicolo instead. Ludicolo is a goofy dancing guy with a big hat on him, and works perfectly with Luffy. I could really see them just dance together, party together, just have a lot of fun, and just goof around. And they both have hats, so I think Ludicolo works perfectly for Luffy. Next up, we're actually gonna do Brook. His first Pokemon is Shedinja, and I feel like this is quite an obvious one. Both Brook and Shedinja are really interesting in the way they are created. And I say Brook created, but you understand with what I mean with the Devil Fruit, of how he came back to life. And I feel like Shedinja is very similar with that. Shedinja is created from an evolution and is a ghost type, and is really weird and really interesting. You don't really know where it comes from, and I feel like that is pretty similar to the way Brook was brought back to life. And it's obviously a ghost type, and it's sort of a shell looking thing, which is kind of similar to Skeleton. Then we have Skeledirge, who matches Brook perfectly. Skeledirge is literally a music Pokemon, also a ghost skeleton with bones that you can see, so it's just perfect for Brook. Then we have a very interesting one, and that is Relicanth. Because Brook was hidden away for so long in this ship, I thought it would be perfect if he had a Relicanth, because Relicanth is hidden away and was hidden away and took very long to find, and people found it after very many years, just like how Brook was found. The 4th Pokemon is Toxicity, because of the whole Soul King Brook, when he became famous, and he was basically a rock star, just like Toxicity. And I think that's just perfect. It would be singing, playing instruments a lot together, and just go crazy with their music. And Toxicity would definitely be next to Brook while he was playing as Soul King Brook. As the 5th Pokemon, we have Kricketune. And this Pokemon, I had a little bit difficult switching between 3 Pokemon actually. I wanted it to be Solosis, or Poltergeist, or Kricketune, and I thought Kricketune was best, so the others are honorable mentions basically. Solosis because he looks very similar to the Soul and Soulosis, and then Poltergeist because it is T and a ghost type. But Kricketune loves to play music and is a very music type Pokemon. It might not be the best for his team, but that is fine, and I just feel like Kricketune is sort of a gentleman, just like Brook is trying to be. They have a little bit of a similar clothing type of vibe. Brook's clothing is similar to Kricketune. And then the final Pokemon is Froslass, which I think is perfect. Froslass is so perfect for Brook. Froslass is an ice ghost type, and Brook is basically an ice ghost type. Brook has ice powers and matches so well with Froslass, and Froslass does look like a skeleton. So I think that is just perfect. And a bit of a spoiler for the manga, so skip ahead like 20 seconds. But Froslass works very well with Brook because Brook is obviously interested in older women, and the whole thing with the backstory currently in Elbaf, Froslass could be inspired by the woman that he is friends with there. But Froslass and Brook work together very perfectly. Next up is Nami, which the obvious one is of course Castform for obvious reasons. We don't need to talk about that one, but Castform just works really well for Nami. Absolutely perfect. Then we have Persian. Persian works very well. It's a cat and she is Cat Burglar Nami, and it's also the Pokemon that learned Payday They also just work very well together, and I think it could really help her steal stuff and help her get money. The third Pokemon is Goldengo. It's literally just gold. She would love that. She would love Gimmighoul just collecting many coins, and then when collecting many coins, it would turn into Goldengo, and it would be just fantastic. It matches her very well. Then we have a very interesting one, Hydreigon. And this is a reason because we've seen Hydreigon use electric, fire, and ice at the same time. And I feel like that is very interesting to Nami's staff, and it's kinda similar to her attacks. And I think that works fantastically together. And I just think Hydreigon is a beast that she would be able to tame and control, just like she's done in the past with some stuff like Zeus, who isn't really that much of a beast, but still kinda is a beast. And then we have Altaria. It's literally a cloud, matches so well with Nami, they are really good together, and it's a cloud, so it's so perfect. I could really see them right around. And then we have another flying Pokemon, which is Kilowattrel, because we didn't have any electric type here. And Nami has a lot of electric attacks. So we of course need an electric Pokemon that can do that as well. And Kilowattrel works very well with her. And I think Kilowattrel is a great electric type that she could have. After that we have Usopp. His first Pokemon is Shiftry, who is a grass type with a long nose, which matches Usopp so well. That could be where he gets a lot of his attacks from, and a lot of interesting stuff. And Shiftry could probably do some similar attacks that Usopp has done. Then we have Decidueye, another grass type, but that is okay because Decidueye matches Usopp so well in my opinion. Decidueye has very interesting attacks and his cloak and all of that. I just feel like that works with Usopp. I don't know how to explain it, but it just works. And the whole line feel like is a Pokemon that Usopp could have. Decidueye does shoot arrows, which is a long-ranged thing, and I could really see Usopp work with that. And again, grass type using plant attacks is very similar to Usopp. And like I said, for some reason, they just look like they work so well together, and I love seeing them together. Then we have Inteleon, literally the sniper Pokemon, so perfect for Usopp. They would just snipe together, absolutely fantastic. Of course, we needed the sniper Pokemon on Usopp's team. And even better is that Sobble is a very scared Pokemon who's scared of a lot of stuff, and Usopp is scared of everything as well. So that works perfectly. It's just that the Sobble would have grown up into an Inteleon now. Then we have Scrafty, who's perfect because it has a mask and can hide its face, and can be a reference to Sniper King. They both have masks, so it works perfectly. Usopp is also a great liar, so hiding your face is perfect for someone who's gonna lie. And again, I just feel like they match. And we have Sudowoodo, because it lies. It is not a tree, and it's tried to trick people that it's not a tree, just like Usopp does with a hammer and with a lot of other stuff. So that works perfectly. And the final Pokemon is Dubwool, because of the Mary, of course. A reference to the Mary and the sheep-looking guy from Syrup Village. I don't remember his name. I'm really bad with names. Somehow I remember Syrup Village. If you watched this far, please feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps. I'm trying to reach 300 subscribers currently. It would help a lot. I'm probably also streaming while you're seeing this, if you're watching this the same day, because I'm gonna be streaming right here about an hour after this video has been uploaded. I'm gonna be naming every single Pokemon. I'm not ending stream until I've named every single Pokemon. But you can also join my Discord server and follow me on Twitch in the bio. That's where I usually stream. Then we have Sanji, who's obviously gonna have Blaziken. Obviously, fire type that kicks, absolutely perfect together. They matches so well. Then we have Tatsugiri, and Tatsugiri is sushi and a fish, and Sanji is a chef on the sea. So it's perfect. They match very well together. I feel like Tatsugiri could help him with his cooking, and they maybe would meet by Sanji thinking that Tatsugiri is food, but actually learn that it is a Pokemon, and then they become friends like that. But Tatsugiri is literally a food Pokemon, so it works so well for Sanji. Then we have Alcremie. For similar reasons, it is food and works very well with Sanji, but this time it would be dessert. His fourth Pokemon is Hitmontop, who's literally spins and kicks and matches Sanji so well, so similar fighting styles. Obviously you could say Hitmonlee works, because it does work, but that's just a regular kicking guy. Sanji literally does also like look like a Blade sometimes when he attacks, and like just spins around, just like Hitmontop, and is upside down, attacking with his feet. So they match very well together, and is perfect for each other. Then we have Rotom, just regular Rotom, but this Rotom can turn into the other forms as well, and he would mostly use Rotom Heat and Rotom Frost, of course, because that is food related, and he would be able to cook stuff or freeze stuff very fast, and Rotom would be very helpful within the cooking. The final Pokemon is Appleton. Appleton is a pie Pokemon and just works perfectly because it is food and is pie. I would love seeing Sanji have an Appleton, and I think it's a great Pokemon for his team. Then we have Zoro. Zoro's gonna have Scyther, and Scyther works so well with him. I thought that maybe we could evolve him, but then I realized that Scyther and his evolutions has literally the same base stat total, so we don't need to do that. And Scyther works better, because it literally looks like it has swords on its arms. And they're both green, so that works perfectly. Then we have Aegislash. I thought of doing Doublade, but I feel like Aegislash still works, even though it's also a shield. They would just work together with the swords, and it's not like Sora is gonna use him as the sword. But he could always use Aegislash as an extra sword if one of his swords is destroyed or anything like that. It is literally a floating sword, so it works perfectly for Zoro. Then we have Surledge. Obviously, we needed Surledge. Surledge literally has fire, sword, arms, and that is just great for Zoro. They would train a lot and work together a lot, and they just match perfectly. Next up is Sceptile, and again, they're both green, and Sceptile literally have sword-looking leaves on their arms. So Sceptile would be perfect with Zoro, but I feel like that's another obvious one. Then we have Bisharp, which I feel like is a great Pokemon for Zoro. Again, this is mostly swords again. There's not really much else to go off of, in my opinion, with Zoro. He does have other stuff to him, but this is how we're gonna implement Pokemons the easiest way and the best way, in my opinion. And Bisharp works very well. I could really see them together. It's a bit of a different style, but I still feel like they work together. And then the final Pokemon is gonna be the only legendary here. We have Xianpao. When we see the crew as animals, Zoro is usually a tiger, either from fan art or from Oda himself, drawing cover pages. And Xianpao is sort of a tiger and has swords in its mouth. What better than that could fit Zoro? It's literally perfect, and they work so well together, and they're both the same animal, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got lost a lot as well. Then we have Chopper. Chopper's first team member is gonna be Blissey, of course, a very obvious one, because they're both healers. They do work perfectly together, and Blissey would help Chopper heal a lot. Then we have Slurpuff, because Swirlix and Slurpuff are cotton candy, and who loves cotton candy more than Tony Chopper himself? Chopper loves cotton candy, and it's literally perfect for him. They're both very cute as well. Then we have Weirdeer, and Weirdeer is here because it's a deer, of course. We have Chopper and a deer, absolutely perfect. We obviously needed that. And then his fourth Pokemon is gonna be Palafin, and that is because Palafin turns into hero form, and Chopper had his forms. It would be like when Chopper turns into his human form, just like Palafin when he turns into his hero form, it's basically turning into a human form. And I think that's perfect and matches a lot and works very well together. His fifth Pokemon is gonna be Blood Moon Ursaluna, and this is the Pokemon that represents his monster point. When he becomes a big monster, he and Ursaluna would destroy everything. Blood Moon Ursaluna would go crazy, and Chopper would go crazy in his monster form, and they would be perfect together. But for his final Pokemon, Chopper does need someone who can get some herbs and help healing, which is Blossom. Blossom is great for healing and works so well, and will help a lot with that. And it works extra well because of the ability Healer. Next up is Florges. Next up is Robin, and Robin's team would start off with Florges. It's literally a flower Pokemon, but it's not grass type, which is why it works even better, because Robin has the flower fruit, and sometimes create flowers with her hands, but they're not actually flowers, they're just still her hands. So they work perfectly together, because Florges is a flower woman, but not a real flower, and just the same as Robin. Then we have Morpeko, because Morpeko has two forms. I would easily call it has its regular form, and then it's sort of like devil form, and that is very similar to Robin as well. Robin doesn't have her forms, but she has her monster that she creates with her powers, creates a version of herself that literally looks like a demon. And I think that works perfectly with Morpeko. Then we have Absol, and this is because Robin is hunted by the government and is known as Devil's Child Robin. And everyone thinks that Robin creates disaster wherever she goes. Who else is known for that? Absol. And are both lies? Yes. So it's perfect. They work fantastic together and would have a lot to relate on. Then we have Barbaracle. Barbaracle just has a lot of arms, especially in its Mega Evolution, and that just works very well with Robin's powers, and that just fits her. After that we have Gardevoir, and Gardevoir and Robin just works. They have such a similar vibe in my opinion, and work so well together. And Gardevoir is very interesting and cool, just like Robin, and I just feel like they're both two women that fit together very perfectly. Gardevoir isn't always a woman, but it works anyway. And the final Pokemon is Runerigus, for obvious reasons. They would meet while Robin is trying to read some poneglyph, and Kevin Rodriguez would help Robin with reading these probably. And they just fit perfectly with the whole archaeology vibes with Robin and her stuff related to that. Then we have Frankie, who is gonna start off with a Metagross, which is this big metal beast, and they just work perfectly together. He will also just help with fixing the ship. Then we have Blastoise, who literally has cannon on himself and is a water type, and they are on the seas, so it's perfect for Frankie. They both have big metal things on their body, and they would have a lot to relate on with that. Then we have Golurk. Golurk is also this big beast with a lot of armor on it. I would even say it's an ancient cyborg, which works perfectly with Frankie, who is a cyborg, and I think Golurk and Frankie just works very well together. Frankie's next Pokemon is gonna be Silvally. Silvally is a very interesting Pokemon. It's a man-made Pokemon who switches between types, and I think that's perfect for Frankie. He can switch between stuff that he has made for himself, and he could help fix Silvally if Silvally ever breaks. No, but seriously, that just works perfectly. Like I said, they're both able to switch between different powers and stuff like that with their technology, so it's perfect. And they're both flesh and technology together. Silvally is also some sort of cyborg. Then we have Revorum. Revorum is a metallic car type of weird Pokemon, which I think works well with Frankie building his vehicles. It's a Pokemon that I think Frankie would have that works really well. And then the final Pokemon for Frankie is Conkeldurr, because Conkeldurr helps with building stuff and helps with fixing stuff, which Frankie does on the ship, and he would appreciate a help from a Conkeldurr, and he would also just have fun doing it together. I could really see him have a Conkeldurr. And then we have the final person, Jimbei. And Jimbei's first Pokemon is obviously going to be Poliwrath. Poliwrath and Jimbei work perfectly together. Fighting water, Jimbei is basically fighting water, absolutely fantastic. Then we have Solrock, because I wanted a reference to the Sun Pirates and the whole symbol with the sun. And Solrock is basically the sun, so that works fantastically. And I could see that Solrock could have been an old member that has just been on the ship of the Sun Pirates, because it is a sun and works perfectly together with the Sun Pirates. Then we have Dondozo. And let's be honest, Jimbei and Dondozo just work together so well. They both have a similar vibe and are really cool together, and I think they match perfectly. I think that's obvious. Then we have Garchomp, which I made really interesting here, because Jimbei is a fish, maybe even some sort of shark, just like Garchomp. And Garchomp is a land shark. Bit of a spoiler here, but Jimbei has a clone who has the same power as Senior Pink, who can literally swim in the ground. And who can swim in the ground as well? Garchomp. So it's a reference to that and works very well together. So Garchomp would just be swimming around on land. That just matches very well with Jimbei, and a really interesting reference. Then we have Dhelmise, and because Jimbei is the person who has control over the ship and steering the ship, he would also have control of the anchor, and Dhelmise is an anchor, so that's perfect. Dhelmise would be the anchor on the ship and would be perfect with Jimbei. And then Jimbei's final Pokemon is going to be Emboar. Emboar is a sumo wrestler, and Jimbei could be a sumo wrestler as well. I just think they fit together. Emboar is a fighting type, and I think they work really well together. That is all of the Straw Hats and their full teams. I think I made a good job on this, and I feel like all of them fit. Please tell me what you think of this and if you agree. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to do some future One Piece content as well. And if you want to see more of this, then tell me in the comments. Tell me if I should do it with other characters as well, and what characters if so. But also let me know if you disagree with anything in this video, and tell me what you would replace them. Maybe you think a Pokemon works better that wasn't mentioned. If it's the same day as this was uploaded, I'm probably live right now like I said before, so check that. But also join my Discord server and follow me on Twitch, link in bio. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. You can watch a video right here about what if the Hoenn gym leaders could use Pokemon from the full Pokedex. So I'll see you guys in the next one. So have a great rest of your night, day, morning, or whatever. Peace out, and don't forget to follow.